At 9:14 p.m., Mia stopped answering her phone. By 9:30, Thomas was sitting in a crowded restaurant across town. 3 people remembered seeing him. A waiter remembered his order. A couple nearby remembered him. A receipt placed him there at 9:32. His alibi was perfect. Almost too perfect. Because before police told anyone what they found inside Mia's apartment, Thomas asked one question. "Did you find the broken bracelet?" The room went silent. That detail had never been released. Suddenly, the strongest alibi in the case became the first thing investigators stopped trusting. But that is not where the story really begins. To understand why Thomas worked so hard to be remembered, we have to go back 3 months, when Mia still believed his attention meant safety. They met at a cafe near her office. Thomas was calm and unusually observant. He remembered her name after hearing it once. He noticed where she sat and how she drank her coffee. At first, being noticed felt safe. But little by little, his interest became more precise. "What time do you leave work? Which entrance do you use? Do you walk home alone? Does anyone else have a key?" Thomas always had the same explanation. "I just worry about you. I like knowing you are safe. I pay attention because you matter to me." Concern became the answer to everything. When he called twice, asked who had texted her or appeared outside her office, it was always concern. Each moment looked harmless alone. Together, they formed a pattern. If Mia answered quickly, he was warm. If she did not, he became quiet. That silence made her explain missed calls, send pictures to prove where she was, and apologize for plans she had never needed permission to make. Then Thomas would soften. "I am sorry. I care too much. I do not want anything bad to happen to you." The apology returned the warmth, but never changed the behavior. Mia began adjusting her life to avoid the next silence. She stopped meeting friends after work and leaving her phone in another room. One evening, her sister noticed Mia checking her phone again and again. Every time the screen lit up, her shoulders tightened. Her sister asked, "Are you afraid of him?" Mia answered too quickly, "No, he is just protective." But that night, she wrote a note in her phone. "He always knows when I'm about to leave." Over the next 2 weeks, Thomas began changing the past. He denied questions Mia clearly remembered answering. He claimed she had agreed to things they had never discussed. Whenever she challenged him, he stayed calm. "You are exhausted. You are remembering it wrong. You always assume the worst when you are stressed." The more certain he sounded, the less certain Mia felt. Then she found a folded restaurant receipt inside his jacket. It was from a place across town. The date was for the following Friday. The receipt showed a deposit for a reserved table at 9:30 p.m. When she asked why, Thomas smiled. "A surprise," he said. "For who?" "For us." But Mia had already told him she would be working late that Friday. Thomas knew she could not be there. The explanation did not fit. That night, Mia called her sister. "I think he is planning something." Her sister asked what she meant. Mia looked toward the hallway. "I do not know yet." It was the last conversation anyone had with her. On Friday, Mia left work at 8:41 p.m. A security camera showed her entering her apartment building at 8:58. At 9:07, she sent Thomas one message. "We need to talk tomorrow." At 9:14, her phone went offline. At 9:30, Thomas entered the restaurant across town. He wore a bright red scarf. The waiter remembered it. Thomas spoke loudly when he ordered. He asked the waiter for the time because he said his phone had died. He paid by card. At 9:32, the receipt was printed. At 9:36, he asked a couple nearby to take a photograph of him. He insisted that the wall clock appear behind him. By 10 o'clock, 3 strangers could place him there. Thomas had not simply gone out for dinner. He had made sure people remembered him. When Mia failed to arrive at work the next morning, her sister called police. Thomas appeared concerned. He said Mia had seemed distant. He said she sometimes needed space. He said she had been anxious and forgetful lately. Then he presented his alibi before anyone accused him. The restaurant, the receipt, the waiter, the photograph, the couple beside him. Every detail was ready. Investigators checked everything. The times matched. The payment was real. The witnesses remembered him. For several hours, the alibi seemed stronger than the evidence inside Mia's apartment. There was no broken lock, no obvious struggle. Her bag was still there. Her keys were on the counter. Then one detective noticed something strange. Thomas kept giving exact times. Not approximate times, exact times. He said Mia texted him at 9:07. He said he entered the restaurant at 9:30. He said he paid at 9:32. He said the photograph was taken at 9:36. Most people remember a frightening night in fragments. Thomas remembered it like a schedule. When the detective asked why, Thomas said he had checked everything after learning Mia was missing. That explanation might have worked. Then he asked, "Did you find the broken bracelet?" Inside Mia's bedroom, officers had found part of a silver bracelet beneath a chair. It was not visible from the doorway. It had not appeared in any photograph shown to Thomas. It had never been mentioned outside the investigation. Thomas immediately corrected himself. He said Mia had told him it was damaged days earlier. But her sister had given it to her only the week before. It had been new. For the first time, Thomas stopped sounding prepared. His answers became longer. He repeated that the restaurant was crowded and reminded them about the receipt. The perfect alibi was beginning to reveal what made it suspicious. It did not feel remembered. It felt constructed. Investigators returned to the restaurant. This time they asked how Thomas behaved. The waiter remembered that he kept checking the entrance. The couple remembered that he insisted the clock appear in the photograph. Another customer remembered seeing someone in a dark coat leave Thomas's table shortly before the picture was taken. The image proved Thomas was there at 9:36. It did not prove where he had been before 9:30. And it did not explain why being remembered seemed so important. The reservation had been made 6 days earlier. The deposit had been paid before Mia told her sister she was afraid. Thomas had never worn the red scarf before. One witness later said, "It was almost like he wanted us to notice him." That sentence changed the direction of the case. A normal alibi explains where someone was. A manufactured alibi tries to control what everyone remembers. Thomas had created timestamps, witnesses, and a photograph. But he could not explain the bracelet. He could not explain Mia's note. And he could not explain why he had prepared to be remembered before anyone knew she would disappear. This story is fictional, but the psychological pattern is real. Deception often fails because people focus on the large story and forget the small detail. A convincing person may control their tone, timeline, and expression. They may prepare answers before questions are asked. They may surround themselves with facts that appear objective. But over-preparation can become evidence of its own. The first warning sign was not that Thomas remembered the time. It was that he remembered every time. The second was not that witnesses saw him. It was how deliberately he made himself visible. The third was the detail he should never have known. People often imagine guilt as panic. But sometimes guilt looks calm. Sometimes it arrives with receipts, witnesses, and a story polished until nothing feels accidental. A believable explanation allows room for uncertainty. A manufactured explanation fears uncertainty. It fills every gap, answers every question, controls every witness, until one unplanned detail breaks the entire structure. Thomas believed the perfect alibi would make him invisible. Instead, it made everyone look closer. Because sometimes the problem with a perfect story is that someone worked too hard to make sure every person remembered the same lie. That is the lesson inside this case.